a health care plan that he wants Congress to take up after lawmakers let tax credits expire. However, the White House provided few details. The plan would have the government send money directly to Americans for them to use in health savings accounts, but critics argue it would not be enough to cover costs for most consumers. Townhall.com.
It's time now for the latest news on this Friday. Headlines presented by Morton Hospital in Taunton. They're now part of Brown University Health. I'm Creech reporting for WVBF News. Taunton City offices, like many others, will be closed on Monday, January 19th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day. I'll be taking the day off, and I'll be back on Wednesday morning, January 21st, to do the news. The Taunton Police Department is searching for a 14-year-old juvenile who went missing this past week. According to a news release from Chief Edward Walsh, 14-year-old Haley Whitley was last seen leaving her home in Taunton at around 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. Anyone who believes they may have seen Haley or anyone with information on her whereabouts is asked to call the Taunton Police Major Crimes Unit 508-824-7522. A picture of Haley may be seen by visiting the Taunton Police Department's Facebook page. In sports, in the NHL, the Boston Bruins held on last night at TD Garden. They beat the Seattle Kraken. They also retired Zdeno Chara's number 33 jersey. The Bees travel to Chicago. They'll skate against the Blackhawks tomorrow night, 7 p.m. In the NBA, the Boston Celtics trailed most of the way last night before rallying to beat the Miami Heat down the Sunshine State 119 to 114. The Celtics are in Atlanta. They'll play the Hawks on Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. In college hoops, the Providence College Friars, they'll play the Creighton Blue Jays at the AMP tonight, 6:30 p.m. In the NFL, the New England Patriots host the Houston Texans in the AFC divisional round at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. Kickoff scheduled for this Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. The game will be broadcast on ESPN and ABC. Now the forecast from the National Weather Service as we head on into the weekend. Sunshine today, but not that warm. A high near 32 with some gusty west winds. Tonight, increasing clouds, a low around 23. Saturday, rain is likely, cloudy, and a high near 44. Saturday night, a chance of rain, cloudy, a low around 28. And Sunday, snow is likely, cloudy, and highs in the upper 30s. Headlines presented by Morton Hospital in Taunton. They're now part of Brown University Health.
The future is bright at Morton Hospital, now proudly part of Brown University Health. This change welcomes a new chapter for our community, one where Morton is empowered to truly shine. As a part of Brown University Health, Morton can continue to provide the trusted care you depend on, supported by new science that lights the way. Still local, now limitless. Morton Hospital is now part of Brown University Health.
140 enter.
WVBF is your hometown radio station.
Right.
And one of the things we like to do to support people in your hometown is to run community announcements. If you do belong to a nonprofit group or organization, or if you're an official with a city or town government, send your community announcements along to our email address. It's safe, it's fast, and allows us to get right back to you if we have a question. Send your community announcements to WVBF 1530.
Feels like 4 degrees.
That's WVBF 1530 at hotmail.com.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you for listening. Your hometown radio station is AM 1530, WVBF, and 99.7 FM.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVBF ownership or Hometown Talk Radio. Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests.
It's time for Hometown Talk on AM 1530 and 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station. Our phone lines are now open at 508-822-1106.
Two.
Live, yes, live, yes, perfect.
One. Awesome. And good morning and welcome to Hometown Talk. It is a Friday edition of Hometown Talk. It is 9:10 a.m. I am Joey Driscoll. Again, today is Friday. Today is January the 16th, 2026. We got a great show planned for you today. We'll have our sports. We'll do a little bit of college football championship game preview. We'll do the NFL divisional round preview as well. Talk a little bit about that. Then we'll do some other sports as well. Give an update on the Celtics, Bruins, things like that. Give an update on their affiliates, the Providence Bruins and the Maine Celtics as well. We'll give an update on the MLB a little bit too. Not a lot going on. Red Sox did make a couple of moves as we get closer now, approaching the regular season beginning in sometime in March, late March. Spring training coming up soon too. So that's coming up. So we have a lot to get to with that. Then during our 10:35 segment, we'll have Barry Sanders on. That's when it comes to the sports thing. That's when we'll get to, I think, a couple of minutes on the New England Revolution. I know they begin play, at least in the preseason, I think next week. Yes, it's coming up. It's already the beginning of soccer season once again here in the Major League Soccer League. As we approach the very important next couple of months for soccer, not just in the MLS, but nationwide, as the 2026 FIFA World Cup takes place in June. It will take place here in America. So we'll be talking probably briefly about that too. Maybe not about the World Cup today, but definitely about New England Revolution and what to expect for that season. For their 2026 season, I believe their schedule has also changed a little bit. Now they play a little bit longer now than they did in the past. The schedule is structured differently now, I think, going forward. There's some changes there. We'll also get into, in our sports segment, we'll also get into a little bit of NASCAR. It's been a couple of weeks since I've gotten into some NASCAR, but there was an important development there. I want to talk about it, and that is pertaining to their playoff format and pertaining to how the champion will be decided going forward, starting with this season. There's a new change. Well, semi-new change, I would say. The change to an old system. An old system is coming back with maybe some changes in there, but it's kind of a change. It's kind of not. It's kind of going back to an older system with some modern touches. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it during our sports segment. We'll have our transportation segment. By the way, it's at 10:35 a.m. this morning, but Barry Sanders will be on. We'll be talking about city council stuff, Taunton City Council stuff, and much more. As well. It's 10:35 a.m. this morning as well. During our transportation segment, we'll talk about the upcoming GATRA meeting, and we'll talk about some MBTA events going on too, maybe some Amtrak stuff as well if I can find something interesting to talk about with that. And we'll take your phone calls today 508-822-1106. 508-822-1106 is number to call. Talk about whatever is on your mind this morning, whether it be a sports related thing or transportation related thing or just something that's going on here locally or statewide or nationally. Give me a call. 508-822-1106 is number to call. We'll also get into some local stories. There's several Middleborough local stories that are making the news. So we'll talk about that too. And also there's an election coming up. We did talk about that last week. So I might not talk about that today, but if there is any big updates on that as the signups continue for the election, I believe end next month. The signups for whoever is interested in running in the Middleborough town election coming up in April. I believe those end sometime next month. If there's any big updates on that going forward, we'll talk about that too, but I'm not sure if there's going to be any talk about that today. But if you want to call in on that, 508-822-1106. Now, let's get to our weather. Let's do a little bit of an update on the weather here. It is a lot colder than it has been over the past couple of days. Hopefully that's just something that's going to be somewhat temporary. I know it's going to be a little bit warmer this weekend, but there is some chances of snow. We'll get to that in a second. But sunny conditions today are expected throughout the day today, so no rain, which is a good thing, very good thing. However, the winds are an issue. Right now it's 23 degrees, but it feels like of just 4. 4-degree feel like right now in Taunton, here outside our Hong Kong City studios. It will get up to 31 degrees today with a low of 20 this evening, but the winds, 35 mile per hour gusts, are going to make it feel a lot colder than what it is right now. So if you're going out there, definitely bundle up. Because it's going to feel a lot colder than it actually is out there today. Now, this weekend we have a chance of maybe some snow, maybe a mix in there during the weekend, maybe more towards the evening time, especially on Sunday, the evening time, according to what I've been hearing. But 45 degrees. 50% chance of either rain or snow or a mix. 25 degrees for the low on Saturday night. Sunday night, a low of 29. Potentially some snow there. High of 38 on Sunday. And also, it might be a chance of a mix as well on Monday. High of 32, low of 23. So the next 3 days, got a pretty good chance of either seeing snow, rain, or a mixture of both. There might be some accumulation involved as well, maybe an inch or two from what I'm hearing as well. But clears up on Tuesday, but it is going to be cold for the next couple of days. It's going to struggle to really get any warmer than about 35 degrees midweek next week. So we're back to our January weather, unfortunately. We had a little bit of a reprieve of the cold weather, but we're going to be back into the cold weather, unfortunately. So be prepared for that. All right, 9:19. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get into some. We'll talk about some transportation here first. Then we'll do some local news stories. Talk about some things going on in Middleborough locally. Some events going on as well. Then probably during the first half of the 10 o'clock hour, we'll be talking about our sports. And then we'll get to Barry Sanders. That's coming up at 10:35 a.m. this morning. But until then, you get your phone calls. 508-822-1106 is number if you want to call in and talk about what is on your mind this morning. All right, 9:20 a.m. Let's take our first commercial break, and we will be right back.
Get out now.
Hey, restaurant. When it comes to great food and in-house operations, you got it down all the time. But when it comes to online marketing, ordering, and delivery, Devour Now has got you covered. Devour Now has 0% commission, no setup costs, and the delivery solution you've been hoping for. Get DevourNow.com to request a demo and to get started today. That's GetDevourNow.com. Commission-free online marketing, ordering, and delivery.
I'm gonna get one more commercial. 64. Actually,
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
I let go of trying to control things that I had no control over. And that helped me find peace of mind.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
I was constantly stressed and worried. Now I approach each day with joy and gratitude.
In Al-Anon, families and friends of alcoholics find new ways to heal from the effects of a loved one's drinking.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. For information, call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
and we're back here on Hometown Talk. It is Friday, January 16th, 2026. And we are going to do our transportation topic. We've got a lot to talk about today in our transportation topic. Some stuff that's local, with how you can get to the Patriots game using the MBTA. Some things that are in the Boston area as well. And maybe after the news, we'll do an Amtrak segment if I can find something interesting to talk about with Amtrak. If not, we'll move forward with that. We're just doing MBTA today, but there's a lot. There's a lot when it comes to the MBTA and what's going on there. There might be some new diesel trains coming for the MBTA. The Alewife Garage project has been put on hold as well. We'll talk about that and much more. We'll get an update on what's going on across the subway lines as well as we head into mid-January. And there's some work that's being done on some of the lines as pertaining to signal upgrades, and that's kind of continuing here in the early part of 2026 as they try to get that done. So we'll give an update on that too. But first things first, we'll talk about the MBTA and their running of some special trains for the Patriots game coming up this Sunday. Now the Patriots, they play the Texans at Gillette Stadium, and that'll be at 3 o'clock, I believe, on Sunday, and potentially the last home playoff game of the year, win or lose because of the fact that the Broncos are facing off against the Bills. And that'll be a tough one for the Broncos to win, for sure. Could they win? Yeah, of course. But if the Broncos do win it, that means the Patriots will be going to, if they win on Sunday, will be going to Denver next week. But let's not get ahead of ourselves with talking about that. But on the flip side, if Buffalo wins, then Buffalo would be coming here if we did make it to the AFC Championship game. And that would be a huge AFC Championship game, by the way, Bills and Patriots. But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Still got the Texans ahead of us on Sunday. It'll be a good game. I'll talk more about that during our sports segment. But anyone heading to the Patriots-Texans game on Sunday can avoid the Route 1 traffic by hopping aboard a commuter rail train. Tickets are limited, however, and can be purchased on the M-Ticket app in advance. So if you want to purchase those, go to the M-Ticket app. The MBTA Keolis Commuter Services announced they'll be running Foxborough-bound trains from Providence and Boston. The Providence train that'll depart at noon on Sunday and make stops in Pawtucket, Central Falls, Attleboro, and Mansfield before arriving outside Gillette Stadium at about 1:15 p.m. The MBTA said 2 game day trains will be available in Boston. The first will leave from South Station at 12:40 p.m. and arrive in Foxborough at 1:40 p.m. The second that will depart at 12:50 p.m. and arrive at 1:50 p.m. Both trains will stop at Back Bay and Dedham Corporate Center stations. Kickoff is scheduled again for 3. It's gonna be, I think it's more like 3:10, 3:15, somewhere around there. Might be 3:05. I don't know. They say kickoff is scheduled for 3 o'clock, but it's usually like a couple minutes after 3 o'clock when kickoff actually happens. It's more like maybe 3:10. But then you definitely want to be in your seat by 3 o'clock, obviously, for the game. Riders are advised to make their way to the station as soon as the game ends. The first outbound train to Boston that'll leave 30 minutes after the game. And the second will leave once all passengers are on board. The train to Providence that'll depart 45 minutes after the game ends. The 2-seeded Patriots, they're hosting the 5-seed Texans. The winner will advance to the AFC Championship game next weekend. And we talked about that. There is potential if the Patriots win and the Bills win their game, then we would have an AFC Championship game at Foxborough for the first time in 8 years. I believe 8 years. Yes, I think 8 years. So that would be a huge thing. But again, my opinion is it's probably not going to happen. I think if the Patriots win, they'll have to go to Denver. But we'll talk about that when we get to our sports. The MBTA has greenlit, the board of the MBTA has greenlit $250 million contract for diesel trains. The T's director of vehicle engineering, William Wolfgang, says the new battery-powered engine technology isn't sufficiently developed to be able to replace the T's aging fleet of diesel locomotives. And another troubling sign for the Commonwealth's goals to wean itself off of fossil fuels, the MBTA board of directors last month in December, they authorized a $253 million contract to overhaul 40 diesel locomotives and keep them operating through the 2030s. The overhaul will refurbish the HSP 46 locomotives that first entered service in 2014. So they're relatively new, but those will be getting refurbishments and extended lifetimes, at least for now. Those engines are the newest locomotives in the MBTA's commuter rail fleet. The T also owns 69 older locomotives, some of which date to the early 70s. 6 years ago, the MBTA's former governing board endorsed a plan to phase out those diesel trains with new electric trains capable of providing faster and more reliable rapid transit style service throughout eastern Massachusetts. And that process has been slow. As of 2024, Governor Haley announced that the Fairmount line would be getting those battery electric trains. And that's going to happen probably by the end of 2027. So that process has been kind of slow, for sure. Those new electric trains, those would replace diesel trains on the Fairmount line. Those currently use 3 trains on a typical weekday. But an MBTA spokesperson told Streets Blog Mass that decarbonizing the Fairmount line, commuter rail line, does not reduce the need for diesel locomotives in the near term. What are your thoughts on that? That is pretty interesting stuff. I think it's going to take quite a lot for the MBTA to kind of wean themselves off of the diesel reliability. It's going to take a very long time to get electric trains kind of in place, I think, for the MBTA. I mean, the Fairmount lines are good for a step, but it's going to take a lot more time for that to even happen in other spots in the MBTA. But we'll see what happens on that. What are your thoughts? 508-822-1106 is the number to call. 9:30 a.m. Let's take our first news break of the hour. And first news break of the show here. And we'll be right back here on WVBF 1530 AM 99.7 FM. It is Hometown Talk for Friday, January 16, 2026. I am Joey Driscoll, and we will be right back after the news.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Funston in Washington. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss Iran's deadly crackdown on citizen protests. U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz delivered a message to the Iranian regime.
President Donald J. Trump and the United States of America stands by the brave people of Iran. Period. And regardless of its excuses, and you will hear many today from the Iranian regime and from its friends, the regime is solely responsible for the economic misery of the Iranian people and the repression of their freedom, and they will be held accountable.
Earlier today, a cleric leading prayers in the Iranian capital demanded the death penalty for detained protesters. There's no word from the White House yet on whether President Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy U.S. troops to the streets of Minneapolis. It was another night of demonstrations in the city, but authorities say they were more subdued after the governor and mayor implored protesters to remain peaceful. Over 24 people, including 15 Division I NCAA players, faced charges in a basketball gambling bribery investigation. Here's U.S. Attorney David Metcalf.
We allege an extensive international criminal conspiracy of NCAA players, alumni, and professional bettors who fixed games across the country and poisoned the American spirit of competition for monetary gain.
Troops from several European countries have arrived in Greenland in a show of support for Denmark as President Trump threatens to take over the Danish territory. It's a show of unity among Europeans as they send a signal that NATO can safeguard the security of the region amid rising Russian and Chinese interest. Townhall.com.
Sheepdog in theaters January 16. I just want to wake up in the morning and feel something. U.S. Army veteran Calvin Cole confronts his past and through the tough love and support of his community finds the courage to rebuild.
Sometimes we gotta fall apart to find ourselves all over again.
Raw Real and powerful, critics hail Sheepdog as one of the best films of the year, and the Charlie Kirk Show declares it a must-see film. See Sheepdog in theaters Friday, January 16th. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there too to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. An Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available for those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Americans don't have a lot of confidence in the clergy, as we hear
Hello,
now from
caller?
correspondent Michael Harrington.
Yes. Hey, give me a call back in 2 minutes. All right, that's fine. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll see you. Bye.
Temporary nurses to keep facilities running. News and analysis at townhall.com. Verizon is apologizing for the massive outage this week that impacted more than 1.5 million customers.
The nationwide Wednesday outage knocked phones offline and interfered with some 911 calls. Federal and local officials are pointing to a suspected server failure in New Jersey as the company definitively ruled out a cyber attack. The highest reported problem spots were in New York City, Atlanta, Charlotte, North Carolina, Houston, and Brooklyn, New York. Verizon will offer customers impacted by the 7-hour outage a $20 credit.
Bill Alexander reporting. An appliance distributor is expanding a mini fridge recall that now covers nearly 1 million Frigidaire branded products sold in the U.S.
Wow.
The units can short circuit and ignite. There have been reports of multiple fires. Owners are now urged to stop using the fridges and visit the company's website for refund instructions. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Yikes, that's not good at all. Wow. Okay, what do we got here? Hour now? No, 117. Tech, mobility.
Future's moving fast. Are you keeping up? I'm Ken Chester, host of the new Tech Mobility Minute on WBBF. Weekday mornings at 7:42 and 8:52.
Nice.
I got the tech talk to explain mobility, innovation, and what it means for everyday life. Smart, fast, and easy to understand. The Tech Mobility Minute, heard twice daily on AM 1530, WBBF, and 99.7 FM, your hometown station for Middleborough, Taunton, and southeastern Massachusetts.
That's good promo. It's a really good promo, actually. Wow. All right, let's see. A couple more things here. 2 more. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, 0. And we're back as we continue our transportation segment. 9:38 a.m. here. Talked about a couple of things here in the last segment here. Transportation. We got a couple of more things to talk about. Nothing on the Amtrak side today, but we'll do MBTA and if you have any big transportation things you want to mention, 508-822-1106 is the number to call if you want to mention something on that end. But a couple of more stories here we want to talk about here. Give a quick update on the MBTA Communities Act. The final deadline is now looming. Actually, it's passed at this point now. There are 12 Massachusetts towns not in compliance. Those include Winthrop, Wilmington, Tewksbury, Rehoboth, Middleton, Marblehead, Holden, Halifax, Freetown, East Bridgewater, Dracut, and Carver. Those are some big towns, especially in the South Coast area. We talked about Carver before. We talked about a couple of these other towns as well. But there are a couple of local towns in there: Rehoboth, Halifax, Freetown, East Bridgewater, Carver, as well. The Attorney General's office said a enforcement suit and loss of discretionary state grant funding will be brought upon any non-compliant community by the end of January, but did not elaborate further. As of January the 8th, 93% of the MBTA communities have passed new zoning laws, with over 7,000 new homes in the development pipeline, according to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Getting plans passed caused several fights in several communities. I know, Middleborough was one of them. They had a whole thing about it, and that was in the news for quite a while. Middleborough did end up agreeing to that, the MBTA Communities Act there. So agreeing to do something with that, and now building some new buildings there, some new housing near, I believe it's near the new Taco Bell that they just opened up a couple of months ago, and that's near the new station. So I know there was some things going on in Middleborough on that front, the MBTA Communities Act, and some other local areas as well, with their arguments against it as well. Milton obviously was a big story as well. But now that the deadline has passed, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there here going forward, because it's been a concerning issue for a lot of towns. In the 5 years since the MBTA Communities Act was passed, 165 communities have taken action to allow multifamily housing to be built, helping to meet our housing needs and complying with the law, Campbell said. The Supreme Judicial Court has made clear that compliance with state law is mandatory, and my office is prepared to take the enforcement action necessary to achieve compliance. So yes, they did. There was a ruling on that, and trying to remember exactly what it said. I think that said that the law was, to be followed, but that the language should be changed. I think that's what was ended up being ruled on there. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this going forward. But those are your 12 towns that are not in compliance with it, as they passed the 2026 deadline. So we'll see what happens with that. Any updates I have with that, and we'll talk about that. But what are your thoughts on this, on the MBTA Communities Act, and what your thoughts are on this and some of the things that could happen to these towns? 508-822-1106. If you're in any of these towns and are listening, give us your thoughts. 508-822-1106 is the number. Okay, we're going to move on from that. And we'll talk about one more story here, and then take our news break, and then we'll give a quick little update on what's going on across the MBTA lines there, the subway lines and the commuter rail lines. Not a whole lot going on, but there is some things going on. So we'll talk about that. The one more big story that I want to talk about here that has made the news not here in this area, but in the Boston area, is the plans to redevelop Alewife MBTA garage. That has fallen apart. The MBTA has scrapped its search for a developer to overhaul the aging 5-story parking garage. And they show a picture of this parking garage. It's not a pretty sight, that's for sure, this garage. So it's definitely concerning that plans for this have been, at least for now, scrapped. Again, it's an aging 5-story parking garage at Alewife Station, citing a softening real estate market that makes the planned project no longer feasible. The decision marks a setback for a rapidly aging Cambridge neighborhood, which has seen new housing rise around the crumbling structure and has been banking on redevelopment to attract more commercial and biotech investments. They had a 2019 Alewife district plan, and that's kind of outlined in that. The MBTA canceled its search for a developer for the Alewife site after a major shift in real estate market made the project no longer viable. The change occurred while proposals were under review and would have increased early labor and construction material costs. A lot of these projects, when they happen, there's a price that's given with these projects, and they always seem to spike. Without fail, they always seem to spike, and that's what was happening with this one. However, the MBTA said it remains committed to working with Cambridge to improve the station. So we'll see what happens here, but I wanted to definitely talk about this. The garage is undergoing repairs, and a 2020 MassDOT structural analysis found that the MBTA would need to spend $55 million over the next 10 years to keep the garage open. There's been some issues there as well. Car crash damaged the ceiling, causing debris to fall onto the station below. That resulted in $1 million worth of damage. So we'll see what happens with this. I know that there's been some other parking garage projects that have been going on across the MBTA as well. I believe in Quincy there was some stuff going on there. Parking garages. I believe it was Adams that was being fixed or up and things like that. So there's a lot of these kind of projects going on. So we'll see what happens with this project. It's kind of an important project for sure for the MBTA. So we'll see what happens there. But there's your big stories with the MBTA. Outside of the update I'm going to give you for the lines here, the MBTA commuter rail and subway lines. And we're going to do that when we return here on WVBF 1530 AM, 99.7 FM. I'm Joey Driscoll. This is Hometown Talk, the Friday edition of Hometown Talk, January 16, 2026. Open ball lines, 508-822-1106. And we will be right back.
242 and 136.
242 and 136. 242. Enter.
Matthew
Good.
Mission Food Pantry helps
136.
people with food insecurities from the hardships of life. In a few short years, they have given more than 4,000 bags of groceries to those in need at the north door of the First Parish Church, 76 Church Green, and are available to anyone, no questions asked. The demand increases every week. Please consider a donation of unexpired, non-perishable food items, grocery store gift cards, or a monetary donation via check to the Matthew Mission Food Pantry, 76 Church Green, Taunton, or by Venmo at Matthew Mission Food Pantry. The Matthew Mission Inc. is a registered 501c3 organization. Thank you.
Don't miss InfoTrack weekends here on WVBF. InfoTrack is a weekly nationally syndicated public affairs radio show that features interviews with experts discussing topics of real interest to you. InfoTrack strives to present impartial, balanced coverage of every story. I'm your host, Chris Whitty, along with a team of talented reporters and legendary announcer, Charlie Van Dyke. InfoTrack, Saturday mornings at 8:05 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. Here on WVBF AM 1530 and 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
Okay. And we're back to turn down the bumper music. There we go. 9:50 a.m. here. 9:50 a.m. And open phone lines 508-822-1106. Coming up at 10:35 a.m. this morning, we will have Barry Sanders joining us here in the studios. Talk about all things Taunton City Council, and maybe a couple minutes there at the end of on the New England Revolution as they get ready to start their pre-season, which is I believe it starts next week. So we'll see about that here. We'll give an update on that. And this is some big news with the New England Revolution, of course. They're moved to Everett as well. So we'll have all that little bit later on in the show today. We'll have our sports coming up in the second hour too. Give an update on the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Give an update on the college football playoff title game as well. That's coming up this Monday. So stay tuned for that. And we'll have much more in the second hour. Now, to finish off the transportation topic here, give a quick update here on some of the commuter rail lines and the subway lines as to what's happening here. Let's start with the Franklin line. And we're just going to do one here. One thing to talk about here, and that is Amtrak infrastructure repairs have been completed. Starting on Monday the 19th, which is MLK Day. Franklin Foxborough line trains, those will resume according to the fall-winter schedule. So the regular fall-winter schedule will resume on MLK Day. The Amtrak stuff is done there. So there you go. And that's the same thing for Franklin Foxborough. And that is the same thing also for Providence and for Stoughton. The Amtrak infrastructure repairs are done. Monday, the 19th of January, regular train service will resume on all of those lines according to the fall-winter schedule. So there you go. And that's it for commuter rail. Not a lot going on with the commuter rail. We go to the subway lines. Red line first. We will not be talking about the elevator and the escalator closures because there are too many. That's kind of a thing, unfortunately, on some of these subway lines is the elevators and the escalators don't seem to work. And you definitely don't want that to happen at a station, for example, like Porter, because that's not fun. Porter is their escalators are not fun. I'll just say that as someone who has experienced that, not fun. Those escalators going up and down them at Porter. Anyway, moving on from that, Red Line. Shuttle buses will replace service between Broadway and North Quincy and Broadway and Ashmont. That's the weekend of January 31st and February 1st. That's 2 weeks from this weekend for track work. This is going to allow upgrading and testing of the new signal systems. On the Orange Line, Doesn't look like there is much going on here. Nothing new. Just Jackson Square. There's a couple of Jackson Square things going on. There's a couple of construction things going on with Jackson Square, which I've mentioned before, so I won't mention that again. Green Line, nothing new there with the green line, and with the with the blue line. There we go, the blue line. There is one thing here, and that is that train service between Bowdoin and Airport. There'll be no train service between those two stations on the weekend of the 24th and 25th. That's next weekend. For maintenance work, and shuttle buses will replace service between the airport and downtown. Riders downtown can board airport shuttles at Haymarket. So there you go. There's your updates there on that. Now, switching from our transportation topic to some local stuff, and we'll continue to get a couple of local stories there after the 10 o'clock news as well, and then we'll do our sports. But Middleborough, this is on Damascus Week if you want to check this out. Middleborough has announced a new budget software that they're going to be implementing. A new bookkeeping tool will help Middleborough balance its budget more efficiently and economically. Town manager James McGrail, and we've got more on James McGrail coming up here in a minute, and his assistant Jim McCulley gave an overview of Pattern Stream, the town's new accounting software, during a Monday, January 12th presentation. Mulcahy, there we go. I think I was saying that wrong. Mulcahy said in years past, departments would collect budget data throughout the year and input it into a document for residents to see annual expenditures and revenue. However, the new software collects data as it is entered in the town's online system and displays it in real time. He said that this only saves time. There we go. This not only saves time. There we go. Saves time by automating the process, but also gives residents access to ever-changing and more in-depth information. So that's really good. Really good news there. He described the previous bookkeeping document as a product of the town's work to finish each year, compared to the new system that updates throughout the year. He said this new system makes financial information more consumable and easier to present and share. When you make things easier like that, it's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. Want to make your job a lot easier. That sounds like this is what's going to happen here. When inputting data, employees can create and customize graphs to make what can sometimes be confusing information more understandable and straightforward. It also saves the town money. The contract for the new system cost the town $50,000 less than what it paid for OpenGov, its previous accounting software. He said, despite this learning curve, McGrail said the town had to adjust its usual annual budget preparation timeline to account for transferring to the new system, and also to allow time to train employees. He said, despite this learning curve, the town has stayed on its timeline he laid out for the select board during the summer of last year. McGrail said the new accounting system will be viewable by Friday, January 30th. That's 2 weeks from today, ahead of Middleborough's annual town meeting, which, again, I believe takes place in April. And that's not too far away. Again, the elections are coming up, then the town meeting is coming up, I think immediately after that. So that's not too far away. We'll be in April. It doesn't feel like it, but we'll be in April, I think, sooner than you think. It doesn't feel like it right now because of the cold weather. And trust me, it is very cold outside because of the wind. I mentioned that at the top of the hour. But eventually we'll be into February and March, and hopefully that by that time the weather will be nice. We'll see. But we have another story there on Town Manager James McGrail, but we're going to talk about that after the 10 o'clock news, and that is going to start right after we do the ID. I am Joey Driscoll, and we'll be right back here for the second hour of Hometown Talk, the January 16th, 2026 edition of Hometown Talk. We'll be right back. 1 second. I'll turn this up again. There we go.
We are AM 1530, WVBF, Middleborough, Taunton, and W259DD, Middleborough Center, 99.7 FM, your hometown radio station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss Iran's deadly crackdown on citizen protests. U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz delivered a message to the Iranian regime.
President Donald J. Trump and the United States of America stands by the brave people of Iran. Period. And regardless of its excuses, and you will hear many today from the Iranian regime and from its friends, the regime is solely responsible for the economic misery of the Iranian people and the repression of their freedom, and they will be held accountable.
Earlier today, a cleric leading prayers in the Iranian capital demanded the death penalty for detained protesters. There's no word from the White House yet on whether President Trump will invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy U.S. troops to the streets of Minneapolis. It was another night of demonstrations in the city, but authorities say they were more subdued after the governor and mayor implored protesters to remain peaceful. Over 24 people, including 15 Division I NCAA players, faced charges in a basketball gambling bribery investigation. Here's U.S. Attorney
I'm not
Metcalf.
touching that
Extensive
story at
international
all.
criminal
Tennis football,
conspiracy
not gonna do
of
it.
NCAA players, alumni, and
That's
professional bettors
insane.
who fixed games across the country and poisoned the American spirit of competition for monetary gain.
Troops from several European countries have arrived in Greenland in a show of support for Denmark as President Trump threatens to take over the Danish territory. It's a show of unity among Europeans as they send a signal that NATO can safeguard the security of the region amid rising Russian and Chinese interest. Townhall.com.
Sheepdog in theaters January 16th. I just want to wake up in the morning and feel something. U.S. Army veteran Calvin Cole confronts his past and through the tough love and support of his community finds the courage to rebuild.
Sometimes we gotta fall apart to find ourselves all over again.
Raw, real, and powerful. Critics hail Sheepdog as one of the best films of the year, and the Charlie Kirk Show declares it a must-see film. See Sheepdog in theaters Friday, January 16th. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there too to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Well, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Americans don't have a lot of confidence in the clergy, as we hear now from correspondent Michael Harrington.
According to a new poll from the Pew Research Center, only 57% of adults believe that the country's religious leaders will act in the best interest of the public. That's down from 63% 5 years ago. By contrast, 75% of Americans think the military will act in the best interest of the public. 77% feel the same about scientists, and 70% believe this about the police. At the bottom of the charts, elected officials. Just 27% think they'll do any good. Michael Harrington reporting.
The week-long nurses' strike in New York City continues, although negotiations between nurses and hospital administrators are taking place. It's the city's biggest walkout of its kind in decades and has forced hospitals to hire thousands of temporary nurses to keep facilities running. News and analysis at townhall.com. Verizon is apologizing for the massive outage this week that impacted more than 1.5 million customers.
The nationwide Wednesday outage knocked phones offline and interfered with some 911 calls. Federal and local officials are pointing to a suspected server failure in New Jersey as the company definitively ruled out a cyber attack. The highest reported problem spots were in New York City, Atlanta, Charlotte, North Carolina, Houston, and Brooklyn, New York. Verizon will offer customers impacted by the 7-hour outage a $20 credit.
Bill Alexander reporting. An appliance distributor is expanding a mini fridge recall that now covers nearly 1 million Frigidaire branded products sold in the U.S. The units can short circuit and ignite. There have been reports of multiple fires. Owners are now urged to stop using the fridges and visit the company's website for refund instructions. More on these stories at townhall.com.
305.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not express the views of WVDF ownership or Hometown Talk Radio. Content aired on all programs are those of the host and their guests.
All right. And we're back. As I turn down the bumper music, there we go. It is the second hour. It's the second hour of Hometown Talk. I am Joey Driscoll. Today is Friday, January 16th, 2026. During this hour, 10:35 a.m. to 11 a.m., we're going to have Barry Sanders on. We'll talk about all things Taunton City Council, as well. Maybe a little bit, a couple minutes there towards the end on the New England Revolution, as we like to do every time we have him on. So do that again today. 10:35 a.m. this morning, he'll be joining us in the studio. So stay tuned for that. In this segment, we're going to be talking about our sports. But before we get to our sports, there's one other Middleborough story I want to mention. That's a pretty big one. It broke on the Mascot Week this week, back on January the 12th, on Monday, at the beginning of the week. Middleborough Town Manager James McGrail has been chosen to be the Town Administrator of Harwich. The Harwich Select Board unanimously selected McGrail during a Monday, January 12th meeting. Officials said McGrail's communication skills and previous experience made him the right choice for Harwich's top position. McGrail was among 3 candidates hoping to fill the position. The Harwich Select Board was also considering Marion Town Manager Jeffrey Gorman and former Winchendon Town Manager Jim Cradler, I hope I'm saying that correctly, for the position. I'm happy and excited. It has been a long process, McGrail said. I was very excited that they unanimously selected me on the first vote. It's a rewarding feeling. McGrail, who is a Sandwich resident, has been Middleborough's town manager since 2022. His current contract that ends with Middleborough on August 31st, 2027. He has previously said that the Harwich job offers him an opportunity to work closer to his home and his family on Cape Cod. The Select Board commented that during the interview process, McGrail demonstrated empathy and good communication skills. which are crucial for success in the position. McGrail said he was unsure when he will begin his new role. Meanwhile, Middleborough will be in need of a new town manager. He said his next step is to focus on negotiating a contract deal looks to find success for the town of Harwich in the coming months. McGrail's contract with the town states he must give 4 months' notice in advance of leaving his position. Select Board Chair Mark Germain said the board can decide if McGrail may end his contract sooner than the notice time period. And it kind of goes on here a little bit as well. You want to check out this entire article. It's on the Damascus Week, but yeah, that is pretty big news there for the town manager of Middleborough, James McGrail, being selected as the town administrator for Harwich. So we'll keep an eye on what happens there going forward in Middleborough when it comes to the selecting of a new town manager. So that is your local stories for today. A couple of big ones in Middleborough. We're going to switch over to our sports. But before we do that, let's take our first commercial break so we can kind of reset. And we'll do our sports coming up right after this. This is Joey Driscoll. This is Hometown Talk, the Friday edition of Hometown Talk. And this is WVBF 1530 AM 99.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Paul Az, and join me this Thursday from 9 to 11 live on WVBF as Cranberry Country Journal moves from Saturday mornings to Thursday mornings, keeping things light and lively as we bring you a little slice of life of the people, places, and activities that make the Cranberry Country area and beyond a special place to call home. I made the big time finally. I'm on during the week, Thursdays 9 to 11 live, with the replay on Saturday mornings 9 to 11, Cranberry Country Journal on WVBF AM 1530 and 99.7 FM. See you this week.
Good. All right, we switch over to our sports. And we're back. And it is 10:12 a.m. It is January the 16th, 2026. Now we switch over to our sports. We'll start with the NFL here. And real quick, some of the coaching changes that have happened as well. Harbaugh being let go there from the Ravens. He has found a new home. Apparently, it will be with the New York Giants. That was a pretty quick hire there for the Giants. Good job for the Giants there. Kind of jumping on that pretty quickly. We'll see how that goes in New York for Jim Harbaugh. For Harbaugh there. We'll see how it goes for him in New York. I think it will go pretty well. I think it's an upgrade. I really do. The New York job is a very important one, the Giants job. And I think it's an upgrade. I think they went out and got an upgraded coach, and I think that will be pretty good for them. Now, we'll see what happens with Mike Tomlin. Will he land somewhere, or will he take a year off? I believe he might take a year off. I think it was confirmed as much. I think that that he'll take a year off, but we'll see what happens with Mike Tomlin going forward. If he finds a new job somewhere when he's ready to coach again, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll find a new job somewhere in the NFL. And this is it's probably not the last time you've heard of hear from Mike Tomlin going forward. But this is going to be the fourth coach. This is going to be the fourth coach for the Steelers since 1968. 1968. And to kind of put that into perspective real quick, perspective, just real quick here. Their coaching history is as follows. You had Bill Austin, who was the last coach to be fired from the Steelers in 1968. Then you proceeded to have Chuck Noll, who was the head coach from 1969 to 1991, a total of 23 years. The team made playoffs 12 times, made the Super Bowl a couple of times as well, won some Super Bowls under Chuck Noll. Also, after that, you had Bill Cowher from 1992 to 2006, total of 15 years, and he had a really good record as well, and also a Super Bowl as well. And then you had Mike Tomlin from 2007 to 2025, 18 years. Right now, 19 years. And he had won Super Bowl as well. That is a ton of history there. Just 3 coaches between 1968 and 2025. 3 coaches. And all 3 of those coaches were not fired. They all stepped down. So the last coach to be fired was in 1968. So the Steelers basically have had 3 coaches since the moon landing, which is a crazy thought there to think of. But there you go. The Steelers will be trying to find a new coach. I'm not sure who it will be. Could be anybody. Obviously, it's not going to be Harbaugh. Harbaugh has chosen New York. Could it be someone like Kevin Stefanski? I believe he's available. That's a possibility. There's a couple of possibilities out there, I'm sure. So we'll see what happens there. Could they go out and lure Kurt Cignetti away from Indiana? I don't think so. I think Kurt Cignetti is very happy in Indiana. I don't think he's going to want to make a move to the NFL, at least not right now. He's too busy having fun there in Indiana, as Indiana's on the cusp of winning a national championship. We'll talk about Indiana in just a second, but I want to give a preview of the NFL divisional round. We'll start off with our Saturday games. The Bills will take on the Broncos. 4:30 p.m. start on CBS and Paramount. I feel like this is going to be a very close game. There are some reports that Josh Allen is dealing with a ton of ailments, it seems like. But I think that's something that he's been dealing with for quite a while. And he's been playing really top-notch lately. So this, I don't think, will affect him too much. We'll have to see. But that's something to keep an eye on if you're a Bills fan, rooting for the Bills here. The Broncos, they look good. But as I mentioned this with Eric last week. These 2 number 1 seeds in the NFL playoffs this year, I feel like are the weakest number 1 seeds that we've seen in a while. It feels like both of these teams are beatable if you play them correctly. We'll get to the Seahawks in a second, but it just feels like both these number 1 seeds are very beatable if you play the game right. So we'll have to see with this one. I think it's going to be the Broncos that pull this game out. It'll be a close one, of course. It could even go to overtime. but I think it'll be close, and I think the Broncos will win late. So we'll see there. The 49ers and Seahawks, this is going to be a close game as well. I think this is a game that could potentially also go to overtime. I know the Seahawks apparently are dealing with injuries to their quarterback as well, but I don't think that'll affect them. I really don't. 8 o'clock on Fox on Saturday. That's going to be a good game. The 49ers and Seahawks, last time these two teams faced, it was a great game. That was a couple of weeks ago. I don't see why this is going to be any different. I think it's going to be a pretty good game on Saturday night or tomorrow night. Sunday night, Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, we have two great games. We have the Houston Texans with, I believe, the number one defense in the entire league versus the Patriots at Gillette Stadium for a chance to go to the AFC Championship game. That's going to be a really good one. This is going to be a really good one. It's going to be a close one. I think the Patriots will pull it out. I really do. I think the Patriots will win this one. But again, a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes to overtime. It'll be close. And that's on ESPN and ABC at 3 o'clock. It'll also be on the Sports Hub on the radio if you want to listen to it on the radio. I'm pretty sure it'll be on the Sports Hub as well. So stay tuned for that. The Rams take on the Bears at 6:30 p.m. on NBC and Peacock on Sunday. Now this is going to be an interesting game. I'm going to go for the upset here. I think the Bears will beat the Rams. I think the Bears are going to beat the Rams. I'm going to go for the upset here. And then in the NFC Championship game, Seahawks and Bears will be a very interesting one. I really do. Patriots, Broncos, and Seahawks and Bears in their respective championship games for the divisions, for the conferences, are going to be a very good set of games there. So those are my predictions on those games as well. But what are your thoughts? 508-822-1106. Now we go to the College Football Championship. Here we have a very interesting game this year. Very interesting game this year. It is Miami versus Indiana. Indiana is undefeated at 15-0. Miami, kind of the underdog here, kind of the Cinderella team. A lot of people weren't expecting them to even make the college football playoff. Some people weren't. Notre Dame fans, especially, are probably very angry that they're here. But that's neither near here or there. We've talked about Notre Dame before and why they're out, and why Miami is in, and why this was the correct decision to put Miami in there. We've talked about it many times. I won't rehash that, but Miami has fought really hard to get to this spot. A lot of great games, a lot of close games. In Miami, it's going to be an interesting game. Hopefully, it's going to be an interesting game. Seeing what Indiana has done to the other two teams that they faced, I don't know. I question if this is going to be a close game or not. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Indiana has the ability to put away games relatively quickly. And Miami has to avoid that if they have any chance of winning against a team like Indiana. Indiana is explosive. They've been explosive all year. They handed Alabama their worst loss in school history in the playoff. They handed Oregon a 34-point loss in the semis. This team is very dangerous, and they can pour a lot of points on very, very quickly. I feel like that's what's going to happen. Again, I think Indiana pretty much has a national championship. It's their national championship to lose. I think they're going to come out strong. They're going to come out quick. And Miami, Maybe they won't get overwhelmed here. Maybe they'll keep it relatively close, but I don't think this is going to be a game where Miami can win. I think Indiana will win this game. Maybe it won't be as crazy of a blowout as the last two games, but maybe 2 touchdowns at the least. Maybe we'll have to see. Maybe Miami completely shocks the world and defeats Indiana. You can't rule that out completely. You really can't, because anything can happen in college football, and this year has been kind of the example of that. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. This is going to be an interesting championship game, and that is going to be coming up on ESPN on Monday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. It'll be also on ESPN Plus. They'll have a ton of different, if you have ESPN Plus, they'll have a ton of different broadcasts that you can tune into as well. So they have a lot of different ways on how you can listen or watch the game as well on Monday night, the national championship game. But my final prediction is going to be Indiana. I think Indiana will complete the undefeated season. They will beat Miami. I don't think it's going to be that close. I really don't. I think the examples that Indiana has had already, the 2 games that they've had already, gives me a strong indication that Indiana is very, very hard to beat. And I think that's going to continue. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. All right, 10:26 a.m. Those are your 2 main big things going on this weekend. Is the football this weekend, the national championship game, the divisional round. That's big. That's coming up this weekend. Now we go to the national. We go to the basketball now. In the top 25, UConn. Kind of continue to keep an eye on what UConn has been doing. Both the men's and the women's side of UConn have been doing very, very well. UConn on the men's side is 17-1 right now. They take on a 9-8 Georgetown team that has 0 shot. 0 shot of winning. I'm just going to say that right now. 0. Absolutely 0 shot. UConn, what they've done this year on both sides, the men's and the women's side, is crazy. Only 1 loss between the 2. That's the 1 loss on the men's side. So, we'll have to see what happens going forward. But I think UConn will have a strong spot on the men's side of March Madness. That game against Georgetown is Saturday on Fox at noon. And I will be surprised if it's close in the second half. I will be surprised. On the women's side, UConn is undefeated. We really don't need to talk about them losing at any time, at any point down the road, because they're probably not going to. They had a game against Villanova yesterday. They defeated Villanova 99-50. 99-50. And that's against Villanova, who's a pretty good team. Their next game, if I can take a look here, will be against a ranked opponent. It will be against Notre Dame. So it might be a little bit of a tougher game, maybe. I don't know. They've blown out a lot of teams already, and they've only had one team. They've only had one game where it's been even close, less than 10 points. One game this year, and they have 18 games under their belts on the women's side there. 17 of the 18 games, all blowouts. So maybe this is a closer game. I don't know. Notre Dame is a ranked opponent, so it should be a little bit more of an entertaining game. But the way UConn's been playing, I mean, I don't think so. I really don't. I think UConn will beat them and it's going to be quite a bit. So we'll see what happens on Monday. 5 p.m. on Fox will be UConn versus Notre Dame on the women's side. So there you go. And also, the only loss on the men's side for UConn was against Arizona, the number 1 team in the nation. So, yeah, both UConn on the men's side and the women's side are the real deals. They're the real deals and are very strong contenders to win the national championship. So we'll see what happens going forward here as we enter the second half of January. All right, 10:30 a.m. We're going to take our news break, and we'll be right back with Barry Sanders here in just a couple of minutes.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. Minneapolis remains a city on edge as protests continue against an immigration crackdown. The Trump administration is defending aggressive crowd control tactics used by federal agents as President Trump considers using a rarely used legal tool. Michael McDaniel is a retired brigadier general.
You can leave it open.
There is
No one's going to come
no
through.
question that the President of the United States can use the Insurrection Act
Nice.
as legal authority
More room.
to call out National Guard troops. The last time this was done was in 1992 by George Herbert Walker Bush because of the riots in LA.
But McDaniel says the troops are limited in what they can do. A federal appeals panel has reversed a lower court decision that released a former Columbia University graduate student from an immigration jail. It's a decision that could lead to the deportation of the Palestinian activist. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports on yesterday's White House visit by this year's Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado met with President Trump at the White House. The president had been lobbying for the Peace Prize. It went to Machado.
I presented the president
You might not
of the
be old
United
enough
States.
for this, but once
President
upon a
confirmed on
time
social
in
media
professional
Machado has
wrestling,
left the medal.
WWE,
Yeah.
Andre the Giant beat Hulk Hogan for the championship belt, which he then attempted to hand over to a character known as the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
Well known. Yeah.
Yes, and it was one of these well-scripted drama moments about was that even allowed? Could you just hand over the championship belt? And the end result was that WWE declared the belt vacant because Andre had clearly relinquished the belt, but Ted DiBiase hadn't actually earned it, so he couldn't receive it. So then it was this whole the whole storyline around the championship belt is now vacant. How do you determine who the next champion is going to be?
You're gonna earn it. Can't just hand the trophy over to Indiana. They're gonna earn it.
There you go. Yeah.
Even though we kind of know that they're gonna earn it.
Hey, never know.
I mean, the same thing with UConn in March Madness. I just talked about UConn.
Yeah, I heard you.
They haven't earned it yet, but all signs point to them both winning the national championship on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, they just beat the women just beat Villanova by 49 points, and they've only had one game where they have won by less than 10 points, and that was it against Tennessee. I think it was against Tennessee. All the other games they've won by like 20 plus, 30 plus, 40 plus. Some of the games have been insane for that. It's crazy.
Keith Peters, Washington. Canada has
Okay.
to cut its 100%.
So I think we'll start off with
electric cars. in return for
2025.
lower
What were some of the
tariffs
big
on Canadian
things
farm
that
products.
happened in the
Prime Minister
city?
Mark Carney made the announcement
and
after 2 days.
we'll go
of
into
meetings with
2026.
Chinese
What
leaders.
some of the big
The
things
White
you
House and a
are
bipartisan
going to
group
be
of
working
governors sitting
on
down
in
at this hour at
2026.
the White House, taking
We'll pick
aim at
three.
power
We'll
shortages
pick three.
and price spikes from data centers for artificial intelligence, growing concern for voters. News and analysis at townhall.com.
Probably a lot more than three.
South Korea's former president
We can mention more if you
is
want.
sentenced after the first of 8 criminal trials.
A South Korean court has sentenced former President Yoon Suk Yeol to 5 years in prison on related to his imposition of martial law in 2024.
Something I talked about is there's some South Coast towns that have missed the deadline for the MBTA Communities Act. Carver, Halifax being one, East Bridgewater being one. That's something I talked about. That's going to be a big story in 2026. The MBTA Communities Act
Oh, yeah.
and the towns that have missed the deadline that was imposed by the state. There are several towns in this area, East Bridgewater, Carver, Halifax.
Stocks are
Missed
mixed in early
the
trading on Wall
deadline.
Street. At this hour, the Nasdaq is ahead by 39 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
At Sun Health Systems, cancer care can keep you at
136.
South Coast Health Cancer Care, you're more than a diagnosis. We offer the most advanced treatment for latest surgical advances.
And between when we get back on the air and 11 o'clock, we get one commercial break in between somewhere.
We are South Coast Health Cancer Care. Visit southcoast.org/cancercare.
Don't miss InfoTrack weekends here on WBBF. InfoTrack is a weekly nationally syndicated public affairs radio show.
And then, we'll finish off with both of our favorite topics. The good old news and revs. We start next week, apparently.
No, not till February.
They have preseason games, right?
Oh, preseason,
Yeah. Preseason starts next week. Is there a schedule? Is there like a new schedule structure?
Next year.
Next year.
2027, they're gonna have the same schedule as Europe.
So it's kind of like year round, kind of.
It'll be more like cold weather winter games.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something we'll mention there at the end. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and 0. And we are back. It's 10:37 a.m. here on a sunny but very, very cold January day, or middle of January day. Winter has come back to remind us it's still winter. And next couple of days it'll be kind of cold and snowy and rainy, which stinks, but again, it's winter, so you expect that. So we have a guest here in the studio. It is Barry Sanders. Good morning, Barry.
Good morning, Joe Dog. This is my first time in the new studio.
Yeah, here at Hong Kong City here.
The palatial 22nd century equipment and everything.
Yeah, so it's exciting. And we're just going to get right into it here. So we're in a new year. We're in a new term now for the city council. A lot of changes in the city council this year. A lot of big changes. A lot of new names now. We'll start off by going back a year to 2025. And what are some of the big things that you thought happened there in 2025 for Taunton, and what's on the positive side, what were some of the big things that you saw?
Well, we've accomplished a lot. A lot of it is, a continuation of work that's been going on for quite a while. I think it's certainly worth mentioning that our public safety building continues to be as I'm told, under budget and on time. We don't have a ribbon cutting date just yet, but there have been a few kind of insider tours. I've had an opportunity to wander about the building, and everything seems to be chugging along pretty well. We'll be occupying that building actually relatively soon, probably we're talking months. We've had championship sports teams from the high school, which is always a nice thing for the community to celebrate. And if you're a gambler, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe has gotten their First Light Welcome Center up and running. We've had some expansion there, so I don't think that we're likely to see anytime soon that multi-billion-dollar, entertainment, shopping, casino, hotel venue, but they're making some progress. There's a couple hundred maybe slots. If you like to play slots, you can head down there. They've got they got their liquor license. They've been doing some entertainment. So, and I have to say, as much as it's been a very kind of controversial project, I think if there's a way forward that makes sense for the community, this is probably it. Every so often they're looking at a smaller expansion and a smaller expansion. And I think that's likely to give them the best opportunity for right fitting a venue of some sort in that location. I think, as I said, it'll always be well short of that massive, entertainment, shopping, hotel dream. But it's likely to be an interesting addition to the entertainment opportunities that people have in the community. And of course, 2025 was we had a big election. Mayor O'Connell was able to successfully get reelected, as well as pretty much all of the incumbents, certainly on the city council side, the school committee side, and further down, most incumbents were reelected, which you could argue means that people are primarily satisfied with the direction the city is going in. If we look at certainly in the city council race, which is where I spend a lot of my attention, even the gap between the person who came in fifth for incumbents and then number 6 was a sizable gap. So I think folks by and large were supporting those of us who are incumbents. And then we always knew there were going to be 4 new folks because there were 4 empty seats, but none of the incumbents were voted out. And here we are now with 5 longstanding councilors, 2 returnees in Deborah Carr and Debbie Patelio, who served in the past. And we have Ed Carrera, who is certainly no stranger to City Hall. He served as the mayor's chief of staff for a while and had an unsuccessful run for mayor. And then the new guy, Dave Shaws, my neighbor, is really the only one who was elected who is new to politics. He's a local plumber and I think retired firefighter. And just a decent guy. So I welcome them all to the council.
Yeah, and I was watching the election night on TCAM when I was at home, and yeah, a lot of interesting races there, a lot of interesting results there at the end. I think there was one seat that was like really, really close. I think it came down to like the last precinct there. I don't know if it was,
so the
TNP, I think.
So for in the city council race, Debbie Patelio and excuse me, Colleen Simmons were kind of neck and neck for that 9th spot, and it really did come down to a couple of last votes to determine who was actually going to hold on to that spot. And it was Debbie Patelio, and I think Colleen Simmons made the right call in not asking for a recall. The gap was just too big. We saw that even in the state rep race. The gap of 15 votes is, by and large nowadays with electronic balloting, the margin of error is so much smaller that, 15 votes is pretty insurmountable.
Yeah, and you saw a couple of recalls last year. You had Brockton, of course. They're going through that, or did go through that. I'm not sure if that's still going through that right now, but the Brockton mayor's race, that's kind of
settled.
interesting. Yeah.
That's been settled, and the Darrenon court, I think, is the one who was asked for the recount and actually filed filed a lawsuit, has withdrawn. So that has been resolved, the mayor's race there.
Yeah. So, so 2025, very, very interesting year in that respect there. Any other things in 2025, maybe or maybe on the events side for Taunton? I know there was a lot of big events, community events.
Oh, there's always something. I've always said, that you can't be in Taunton and say, I'm bored. There's just so much to do. And we had another tremendous Lights On, draws people literally from all over the country and sometimes even around the world to come to Lights On. There's always stuff going on downtown. We saw some of that expand out into the Winton area with some entertainment there. It seems like food trucks are the theme of 2025. So in addition to all the growth in sort of brick and mortar businesses, we saw food trucks popping up all over the place as a way for people to kind of get into the restaurant business. We've gotten a lot more in terms of restaurants. So if you're looking for a fun thing to do on a Friday night, you don't need to drive into Boston or out into Providence. You can just stay local. Go to, one of my favorite places, Tbilisis Wine Bar. You can go and have a nice, quiet evening, glass of wine, no TVs or loud music. You can just sit and have a conversation with folks. But if you like the TVs and the loud music, there's venues for that all over the city. I think the in terms of kind of what we lost, losing the district as an entertainment venue was definitely a sadness. There was a lot of great music there. I enjoyed bands there occasionally. I know a lot of folks went there pretty regularly. But everything kind of runs its course, and we'll see something move in there. Actually, I think the Boys and Girls Club have bought that.
Yes.
And they're going to be moving in there. So it won't be an entertainment venue, but it will be useful nonetheless.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to 2026. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a transportation conversation, ask about, Taunton in general. And then we'll finish off with everyone's favorite topic, the New England Reps.
The much maligned New England Revolution.
So we'll do that in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.
Cool.
Hey, restaurant. When it comes to great food and in-house operations, you got it down to your time. But when it comes to online marketing, ordering, and delivery, Devour Now has got you covered. Devour Now has 0% commission, no setup costs, and the delivery solution you've been hoping for. Go to GetDevourNow.com to request a demo and to get started today. That's GetDevourNow.com. Commission-free online marketing, ordering, and delivery.
Future's moving fast. Are you keeping up? I'm Ken Chester, host of the New Tech Mobility Minute on WBBF. Weekday mornings at 7:42 and 8:52. I got through the tech talk to explain mobility, innovation, and what it means for everyday life. Smart, fast, and easy to understand. The Tech Mobility Minute, heard twice daily on AM 1530, WBBF, and 99.7 FM. Your hometown station for Middleborough, Taunton, and southeastern Massachusetts.
And we are back as I turned on the bumper music. There we go. 10:49 a.m. 508-822-1106 is the number if you want to call in and ask Barry Sanders a question here. We've got about 11 more minutes left in the program today. We're going to switch gears to talking about 2026. Now, we'll limit this to three big things that you see coming down the pipeline for Taunton in 2026. So we'll ask you, what do you see coming down the pipeline?
Well, personally, I can't let the time go by without mentioning that I was elected as council president this year. So I'll have that to enjoy. As much as I wasn't entirely on board with the idea of having an elected council president, we haven't had elected council presidents in Taunton for about 80 years. But the rules changed, and I threw my name in. And lo and behold, my colleagues on the council elected me to be their council president. So I'll be presiding over council of the whole and filling in for the mayor when and if she's away or absent. In that regard, I think the goal here, as I've said, my shorthand is we're going to make Tuesday nights the most boring night on television once again. My goal is to move things along. Make sure that people treat each other with respect, behave in a professional and dignified way, get the business of the city done, and then go on about our business. In any kind of a body of people, it's not necessary for us all to be friends. But on Tuesday night, when we sit down at that table, we're colleagues. We can disagree without being disagreeable. We're going to get our work done, and then we're going to move on. And whether we all go out for dinner on a Saturday afternoon or hang out together is irrelevant. I'll hang out with my friends, and they can all hang out with their friends, and maybe there'll be some overlap, and maybe there won't. But in the end, we're going to get our work done. What's coming up in 2026? I think probably some of the more exciting things are obviously the finishing of the public safety building. That'll be done. And it'll be open. And, I've spoken with the mayor's chief of staff. There will be opportunities for the public to come in for a bit of a tour, walk around to the areas that are not private. There may be some private areas the public's not able to go investigate. But there'll be plenty for us to see in this brand new public safety building. Certainly, I think one of the things that we can be proud of in 2026 is as you look around the Commonwealth, there are lots of communities that are really struggling. I read an article in the paper about Bridgewater Rainham and the difficulties they're having in the schools. Other communities have had to try to put together Prop 2.5 overrides just to cover basic operational expenses. And thankfully, knock wood, that is not the situation in Taunton. Certainly it won't be for 2026. Our finances are in good shape, and we've made some really good choices about how to invest our money, and that's giving us opportunities to move forward and do some interesting things. There'll be plenty of fun things to do. I'm looking forward to warmer weather, so we can all get outside and enjoy Taunton Green and the entertainment spaces that'll be available. I think the council agenda will be busy. We still, I think, have an interest in selling off abandoned property and keeping the city looking good, keeping property on the tax rolls that can be. Personally, I'll continue to hold the line on developing open space unless it's absolutely necessary. But there's a lot of property that either we acquire through tax title or that have been previously city-owned property. We got to figure out what to do with Hopewell School. Taunton Nursing Home still continues to be empty and undeveloped. It just can't sit there like that. Nobody wants a building that over the years will fall down. So something has to be done over there. I know the neighbors aren't excited about any of the projects that have been proposed, but something has to be done. It's an empty parking lot. in an abandoned building at the moment.
All right, let's switch gears. Spent about 2 minutes here on transportation. What are your thoughts on South Coast Rail for Taunton? Now that we are in approaching, I think we're pretty much at the 10-month mark now of South Coast Rail for Taunton.
Yeah, so depending on where you live and your thoughts about it, it's a bit of a mixed bag. So I certainly enjoy South Coast Rail when my kid comes home for a visit from Somerville. I don't have to drive to Brockton or Bridgewater to pick them up. They can take the train right into Taunton, a few minutes from my home. That's convenient. When I go into Boston, I can jump on the train, get some reading done, or take a little nap on my way instead of driving through rush hour traffic. However, if you live on the train, it's been very problematic. We've been communicating, I've been communicating personally with folks at DOT and MBTA, South Coast Rail, as well as some of the freight as well. They're just not being respectful of our neighborhoods. There's times when you have to lay on the horn because that's required around a crossing, but there's a lot of what we'll call recreational tooting at each other, which is a problem. There's a lot of trains that are kind of hanging out in people's neighborhoods that really, especially if it's a trash train, are causing problems. It's loud, and it's really interfering in the quality of life of the folks who are living in those neighborhoods. So we're continuing to push as hard as we can to get the DOT, MBTA, the folks who run the trains for people, like passenger trains, but also CSX and the folks who are involved in the freight trains, which are mostly transporting trash, to get them to be more respectful of our neighborhoods.
All right, it's time for everyone's favorite topic. Let's start off. Let's give MLS Next Pro a little bit of love here. Now that the New England Revolution have officially announced that they're moving to Everett.
Yep.
Does this affect MLS, New England Revolution 2 in any way? Does this affect them? Do they maybe move to Gillette Stadium? Do they replace New England Revolution, or do they stay in Hooksett?
I actually don't really follow that level of the league. I assume that if it's of a Revolution team, that they're all going to go to the new stadium. It's going to be a soccer-specific stadium. It's different than like the Red Sox and the Woo Sox. Like those are kind of different entities. As I understand it, all of the Revolution teams are owned and operated by the Kraft family. So where one goes, the rest will go along. So I fully expect the whole package to head over there. You'll still have Rhode Island FC, which is very entertaining just across the border. I know lots of people who've enjoyed that. I've been meaning to get out to catch a couple of games. I'll just say for the record, I'm not a fan of the move to Everett. That'll be the last of my trips to see the Revolution live. I'll turn in my season tickets. I won't be a season ticket holder anymore. I'm not driving to Everett every week to catch a Revs game.
And I'm sure the people in Hooksett are not going to drive all the way to Everett either.
No, and I mean, lots of people do travel. When I go to the games, I know people, they come from Maine, they come from New Hampshire, they come from all over Massachusetts, they come from Rhode Island. They make the drive all the way to Foxborough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that's not me. I'm not going to be driving into Everett to catch the game. My buddy and I will probably not have season tickets after that.
And another thing as well, for the community of Hooksett, how does this affect them economically? Because you're losing, MLS Next Pro there. You're losing sports teams, which is unfortunate for that community of New Hampshire, Hooksett, New Hampshire. So that's unfortunate. Now switching over to some a little bit more happier things, hopefully happier things if some of the moves that they've done this year work out. The schedule. The schedule begins tomorrow. Actually, preseason begins tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on some of these preseason games? I mean, do you have Sarasota Paradise? You got the Houston Dynamo FC. You got CF Montreal, FC Cincinnati, and then you have Hartford Athletic.
Yeah, so preseason is what it is. It's an opportunity, especially for where the Revolution are now, with a brand new coach who's building a brand new team. You're seeing people who are being moved on to other teams, new players being brought in. This new coach has got to get to know his players. He's got to get to know what they're capable of, trying to figure out, how to get the most out of each of the players, get his strategy put together. These preseason games will give them some opportunity, not only to get everyone match fit or as close to that as possible, but also to begin that process of trying out different formations and strategies to find out, what the team is going to have to use in order to be successful. And that's what we want. It's been rough as a New England Revolution fan pretty much since day one. We've had our bright moments, but this has never been a team that on a Saturday that you can go to the game and be like, oh yeah, we're going to win this game, like 100%. And I heard you talking on the radio earlier, and there's like, oh, that they're going to win that game, no problem. Like there's no chance they're going to lose that game. I would never go to a Revolution game with that feeling.
You can't say that.
In the entire history of the New England Revolution, I've never once gone to a game and be like, they absolutely 100% will win this game.
Yeah, and the Revolution have a lot of work to do to unseat the empire that is Inter Miami.
Well, as long as Lionel Messi is there, then they'll continue to be that. I mean, soccer is never meant to be that one guy. There are games that I think in other sports that you can say, well, they've got that one great player and that changes everything. Soccer was never meant to be that. However, Lionel Messi is a very special player, and he's not the only one. Inter Miami has certainly brought in some other, quality players, big name players, and it's something New England has never done. We've never broken the bank on that one great player. And for I'll say maybe not so much the Everett, Boston area, but certainly down here in southeastern Massachusetts, we've been clamoring for maybe some great Portuguese star. There's a lot of sort of ethnic soccer fans down here, people who've been watching soccer, football all over the world, who would fall over themselves to go watch some great Portuguese star in Foxborough. And the Kraft family has just never appeared to have any interest in bringing in a star of that caliber.
I gotta say it seems like that's the same issue that's starting to plague the Red Sox.
Yeah,
it's just it's not an attractive location.
Yeah,
it really isn't. Anyway, it's 11:02 a.m. I want to thank you, Barry, for being here again. We'll have you on once again, maybe early spring.
Sure.
And we'll talk more about what's going on, Tom.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So
Thanks,
thank
Joe.
you so much, Barry, for being here. And I want to thank everyone for listening in to today. I'll be back next week for another edition of Hometown Talk, the Friday edition of Hometown Talk. Next week, we will have Chachi Lapret of Breakfast with the Beatles calling in. So stay tuned for that. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody, and go Patriots.
All right. Well, good times. Good times. Thanks for bringing me in.
Yeah, thank you, Barry. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. And